Hi everyone. In this video we're going to be talking about REST controllers in Java using Spring Boot. REST controllers are a way to create APIs that can be used by other applications or services. First, I wanted to let you know that the code for the project you will see in this video is available in a GitHub repository. You can find the link to the repository in the video description. Let's start by creating a new Spring Boot controller for the greeting API. We'll call it Greeting Controller. So here we have the code for our REST controller. The first thing you'll notice is that we're using the REST controller annotation to indicate that this is a REST controller. We're also using the RequestMapping annotation to specify the base URL for all of our endpoints, which is /API. Next, we have our two endpoints. The first endpoint is a get endpoint at API hello that we're also using the ResponseEntity class to return a JSON response with the HTTP status code http status.ok and a hello.to object with a message of hello, world. The second endpoint is a post endpoint at API greet that we're also using the request body annotation to specify that the JSON object in the request body should be mapped to a map object. We're getting the name property from the map object and using it to create a new greet.to object with a message that includes the name. Finally, we're returning a ResponseEntity object with the HTTP status code http status.created and the greet.to object as the JSON response. And here's the application class that you can use to run your Spring Boot project. Once you've added this class to your project, you can run it using your IDE or by running the mv in Spring Boot run command in your project directory. I'm going to run it in IntelliJ by simply running main method. This will compile your application and start a Tomcat web server to run it. You should see some log messages and then it should be available at http localhost 8080. Now that we have our REST controller set up and project running, let's test our endpoints using Postman. First, let's test the get endpoint. In Postman, create a new request with the URL http localhost 8080 API hello and the get method. Hit the send button and you should get back the response hello, world. Next, let's test the post endpoint. In Postman, create a new request with the URL http localhost 8080 API greet and the post method. In the body tab, select the raw option and set the content type to JSON. Then, enter a JSON object with a name property, like this, hit the send button and you should get back the response hello, Bascat. That's it. We've created a simple greeting REST API using Spring Boot and the ResponseEntity class to return JSON responses. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below.